Good day, sir. This is a group 1 from Section Bravo.
So what you may expect to this video, we discuss the
Importance of the criminal justice system.
pillars of the criminal justice system, roles and functioning.
And also highlighting the best practices of that particular pillar of our CGS.
Problem in our criminal justice and
possible solution to the existing problems.
But before we dive into the topic, let us introduce ourselves first.
I am Marga Armanda K. Bagaman.
And I am Pelji Pari. And I am Caballero Francis J.
And I am Ryan Dipan.
And I am Verato Hanamay.
I am James Bautista.
And I am Bas Adonil.
I am April Gracie Pugon.
I am Angeles Tebilio.
What is criminal justice system? The criminal justice system is the machinery which the society uses in the prevention and control of crime. It is also referred to the totality of the activities of law enforcement, prosecution, court, correction, and community in crime prevention and control.
As a criminal justice system serve. Although a country's socio-political and cultural context heavily influences the criminal justice system, its overall goals is to establish and maintain acceptable community behavior standards, allow for a law-abiding or peaceful society.
Preventing crime, protect society, particularly its most vulnerable members.
Maintain and enforce the law. Have someone in charge of investigating crimes, offense, police or prosecutors.
Deal with those who are accused of committing crimes against individuals and society.
Have legally established courts to hear evidence against accused persons and impose the appropriate sentence or disposition.
Allow the accused to opportunity to be legally represented.
The criminal justice system comprises 5 pillars, which are law enforcement, prosecution, courts, correction, and the community.
But in the criminal justice system, there are two types of pillars which are formal pillars and informal pillars.
The former pillars have 4 pillars: law enforcement, prosecution, courts, and correction, while the community belongs to informal pillars.
Now we are going to tackle each of the pillars and define its roles and function.
First pillar is the law enforcement. Law enforcement is the first pillar of the criminal justice system charged with the prevention and control of crimes, detention, arrest or suspect, investigation of cases, and assistance in prosecution.
The law enforcement serves as the front line of the encounter with the criminals or those who threaten the social order. There are the arms of the government charged with the enforcement of the law.
Major law enforcement agencies. Philippine National Police or PNP. This agency is directly tasked with the enforcement of laws, prevention and control of crimes. The second one is the National Bureau of Investigation or NBI. An investigation under the supervision of the Department of Justice handles sensational cases which area of the great interest to the nation.
The third one is Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency or PDEA, created under the mandate of Republic Act number 1965, otherwise known as the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002. It is premier agency of the government which is tasked to fight and curb illegal drugs in the country.
We also have the Bureau of Immigration and Deportation or BID, mandated by Philippines Immigration Act of 1940 as amended to control and regulate the entry and stay of aliens to the country. It also serves as the country's gateway to the international community as well as the buffer point in controlling the entry of unscrupulous aliens in the country.
The last one is the Bureau of Customs, under the auspice of the Department of Finance, is mandated to implement an effective revenue collection, prevent and suppress smuggle and entry of prohibited imported goods, supervise and control over the entrance and clearance of vessels and aircrafts engaged in foreign commerce and all other laws, rules and regulation related to tariff and customs administration.
We all have a lot of agencies under the law enforcement, but those we have mentioned are the leading or the major agencies of law enforcement agencies.
The second pillar is the prosecution, which conducts preliminary investigation, to determine the existence of probable cause. It may also conduct an inquest proceeding to determine the validity of arrest of a person who allegedly committed a crime. An additional prosecution thus as prosecutorial arm of the government and is under the supervision and control of the Department of Justice.
The prosecutor is the principal representative of the state in all matters related to the adjudication of a criminal offense. He has a hand in virtually every decision made in the legal course of every case. That comes before the criminal courts.
The third pillar of the criminal justice system is court pillar, conducting trials to determine whether the accused is guilty or innocent of the charge. Courts provide justice is response to arrange criminal, non-criminal, and social matters. Justice option can include punishment, treatment focus, or rehabilitation, or a combination of these two options.
The fourth pillar is the corrections pillar. It takes over once the accused, after having been found guilty, reforms and rehabilitates offenders. This is known as the weakest pillar of criminal justice system. The main purpose of corrections in the criminal justice system is to punish offenders who commit any crimes. By punishing offenders, it will deter any offender from committing any more crimes. Corrections ensure that communities are safe. The fear of crime is reduced and it establishes the idea of getting treatment.
In defining three distinct pillars for citizen engagement, the community pillar relates to activity that is intended to promote goodness or improve human quality of life and community well-being. Molds person from birth and reintegrated offenders back to their home. This is known as the core of the criminal justice system.
So now, let's proceed to the problem in our criminal justice system and possible solution to the existing problem.
Many Filipinos are too poor to access justice. As a result, the poor do not file cases knowing they are unable to afford a lawyer, and it will take years for their case to get resolved because of clogged judicial and court system, overcrowded prisons, retention and recruitment, lack of resources, parity between prosecution and public defenders in its public perception.
Currently, police recruitment and retention is arguably the largest problem facing the criminal justice system.
The pandemic is lying bare lingering issues such as abuse of power, human rights violations, lack of access to the justice system, weaponization of the law, and impunity.
These are the following solutions for those problems in our criminal justice system. Promote community safety through alternatives to incarceration. Our criminal justice system should keep us safe, treat people fairly and respectfully, and be flexible and ready to change with the times.
Create fair and effective policing practices. To work for all of us, policing practices should ensure equal justice and supported by evidence. These practices should be rooted in human rights principle and recognize the importance of maintaining a good relationship between communities and police.
Promote justice in free trial services and practices. The right to due process is a cornerstone of our commitment to freedom and fairness. Free trial practices should encourage fairness, avoid incarceration where possible, and emphasize diversion to outside programs over incarceration. Detention and money bail should only be imposed when an individualized assessment of the involved party requires.
Enhance prosecutorial integrity. Prosecutors represent the government and therefore must reflect the highest levels of integrity and ethics in their work. We expect our prosecutors to be unbiased, fair, and committed to transparent administration of justice.
Ensure fair trials and quality indigent defense. We all know that this right is not dependent on a person's ability to pay. Everyone has the same constitutional right to competent representation when their liberty is threatened.
This idea is central to the notion that our justice system is fair to all and blind to the individual differences in economic status, race, and other aspects of our identities.
Encourage equitable sentencing. Sentence should consider a range of factors and reflect the severity of the crime. We owe it to ourselves, our justice system, and to those being imprisoned to ensure that our sentencing practices are thoughtful and fair.
We ended off this video presentation by leaving a quote.
The criminal justice system, like any system designed by human beings, clearly has its flaws.